And the lower half of I guess you'll do. I guess you'll do. Next up, we have. I hate that this video is so long, but I just don't want to make another one. I just don't want to make another one. And I also don't want to edit. So, oh my goodness. Why? I don't wanna. This is my problem, y'all. I'm a perfectionist. I don't like things to be this long and have only talked about 3 books. But I can't really split it because one of the books in this series has life in it. So it goes with this one, but it's the second book. So I don't like that. I'm going to try to be quick. This is disappointing. Anyway. Oh, man. I've already re-recorded this thing like 80 times. Okay. We're just going to... I don't want perfectionism! Oh my gosh. This is why my therapist tells me, just say, they won't all be diamonds. Not everything will be perfect. It's okay. You can let it go. But do I want to end this video and start over more than I want this video to be perfect? No, because I'm exhausted. I've been up since 4:30 this morning. I'm energized, but I'm mentally exhausted from restarting this video over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, and I just delete all the footage so I don't have to edit. But I've been doing this for like 2.5 hours when I'm supposed to be editing my book with my co-author, who's really excited. Love you, Britt. But I'm not doing that because I told her I wanted to make this video. So I just need to hurry up and finish. But also, no one is going to want to listen to 23 minutes, 3 books. So I just want to quit. You know what I'm going to do so that this is not a wasted video? Alright, here's what's going to happen. Here's what's going to happen. I think that this is the case for a lot of creators. Alright, I really do. I think this is the case for a lot of creators. Because we are so surrounded by information about books, about book authors, we can anticipate how people will respond to what books you're reading or how you think about something, that it becomes emotionally taxing. And you're always waiting for the shoe to drop when someone takes something the wrong way or they don't agree with you. Any of that stuff. I was even talking to my friend the other night, and she was telling me about a certain situation, and I was saying the first instant when I'd heard about the situation, I was like, okay, I understand what the person was trying to say, but I also understood how it would be taken, and how that would have an effect, because I am very similar to my friend, and we have very high rejection sensitivity. And I was telling her in a message, instead of saying, I think this is what's happening in your situation, I said, this is how I feel when this happens, because I've experienced something. I experience it all the time. And I was like, we were talking about the concept of how it is easier for someone to be legitimately mad at you than for someone to feel hurt or disappointed by something that you have done or said or anything like that. Because when they are mad, then you can say, oh, they're just someone who has to have everything their way, or like they're a little snowflake. Or you can say, like, if you don't think that what you did was wrong, but that person was affected by it, you can put the blame on them, basically. You can transfer the blame. And this is easier to do because a lot of the times the things that you will disappoint people with are things that you are very strongly passionate about and that you would want to never disappoint someone about. So when someone says, I'm disappointed that this is the situation, you can't hear it as a distinction between I'm disappointed in this situation versus I'm disappointed in you as a human being. You have this character flaw that makes you a flawed person and makes you unlikable and unlovable. And so a lot of times, because you can't make that disconnection, especially when it has to do with stuff that is your passion or stuff that you think is an integral part of yourself, then you can't hear that without taking it hard. And even if someone tells you, oh, it's okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you by telling you that I was disappointed in this. I didn't know that you would take it, personally. It is impossible to do. Even when they tell you that it's okay. Even if they say you didn't really make a mistake, maybe they wanted to inform you about something for future reference, because maybe you got close to crossing a boundary with them, that sort of thing. They're doing it to set the boundary so that you know what it is, but you can't detach yourself with it. And the reason why it's so hard to believe people when they say it's okay and that everything's good is that I think for some of us that do have high rejection sensitivity, sometimes it's because we're neurodiverse, and so it's literally a different way that our brain works, and so that can just come with it. Other times it has to do with abuse. And so with me, it's both, because I do have mental health conditions that have to do with rejection sensitivity. But I was also emotionally abused as a child. And also with the disability, whatever you want to call them, learning disabilities, whatever, they also come with being ostracized and always being seen as the weird one. Being bullied, just sticking out. And so the way that I coped with all of that was, if I was being bullied, I would give it back. So like how the Mean Girls can have quick wit and humor and come back with it, I could take that mean girl energy and throw it on the bullies, but I would not do that to someone that was not a bully, but I wouldn't take it standing, is what I'm saying. But then there's other people, you don't have a voice. So when it's like a parental figure or a boss from a job, or like when I was in the military, someone that you have to see every day for the next 4 years. And if you burn that bridge, it's just going to make situation more uncomfortable because you cannot detach yourself and isolate yourself from them to protect yourself. You cannot do that. When those people say, when they say that they're disappointed, sometimes those people that are emotionally abusive, they don't say they're disappointed in their action. They really do make it about you. They blame you. Same thing if you have people around you that are narcissists. And I've dealt with quite a few. And so you internalize a lot of that. And when the reality for you is that you have to meet a certain standard in order to be loved. Love is conditional, not unconditional. If you don't meet my standard, you're not good enough. And that is from birth on. And you continue to see it reflected everywhere you go in different individuals, because those individuals always exist. Then it's very hard to think that it's possible for someone to have the same amount of grace that you give others for their misgivings and flaws and mistakes. It's you don't think that it's possible for other people to do that, even though you do that for others. And I was having a discussion with another friend, and we were talking about something similar, and she was like, thank you for never yelling at me. And because she's had the same sort of thing, like just people who are abusive around you. It doesn't have to be a punch to the face. It can be just as harmful with emotional abuse, regardless of who it's coming from. And it has long-lasting effects. And so, yeah, these are like things where you take instance after instance of this happening, and you take it as this is the fact. This is how it is. When it's not that case, then the good outcome is the exception, not the rule. It's very difficult to live like that. It's hard to do anything because there's always that possibility that someone is going to make you feel that way again, and you kind of recede into yourself, and then you almost want to just completely isolate. Because, again, it's easier to be mad, it's easier to isolate and detach, especially if it's something where you know that you did make a mistake, and you might not have known that you were doing it at the time, but you did make one. It's even worse, because you're like, crap, they're justified in feeling this way about me. So even if they say they don't feel that way, you still feel that way, and you still think that part of them feels that way. You cannot accept that someone can be unconditional in their thoughts toward you. And so my friend, when we were talking, basically it comes down to the fact that we have a healthy relationship. If you unconditionally love someone when they do make mistakes, you're more concerned about helping them than whatever harm it did to you. So anyway, all of that is to say is that the combination of having been emotionally abused and bullied and ostracized and just seen as the weird one everywhere I go, which y'all, I feel like a lot of BookTube people, we are the weird ones, so we like each other. So that's why we all feel cool on BookTube. I'm sure some people still don't, because I mean, when you feel that way, sometimes that's how you feel in all situations. But the combination of emotional abuse and the being neurodiverse and my brain literally working differently, the combination of those two things just really makes the rejection sensitivity extremely high to where it can be paralyzing. So when it gets that way, you're constantly questioning everything. And you ruminate on everything too. So like, I could post this video and then think for days, How is someone interpreting what I'm saying? Are they putting certain situations into this? Are they projecting their own emotions into this? How am I being perceived by this? You can think about that for days. And then it's also like, if you want to have an opinion, you feel like the only way you can be justified in having an opinion is if you basically write a dissertation proving that your opinion is correct. And that the people that don't have the same opinion are dumb. Because dumb people can't hurt you. People who are factually wrong can't hurt you, right? So when it comes to BookTube, I feel like not only for me, but other creators, that's why a lot of us probably get burnt out. It's because of the emotional toil talking about books and controversies and authors and all this other kind of exterior stuff that goes beyond the actual pages of the book can just be extremely taxing and overwhelming, especially when you do have those things like high rejection sensitivity and like depression and stuff like that. Like, it's hard, and it can exacerbate it. And that's why I think sometimes people are like, I really enjoy this thing, but I have to remove myself from it because it's not healthy for me, because of all the exterior things that have nothing to do with the actual thing that you're doing. Like, none of this has anything to do with reading the dang books or enjoying reading, or even the process of filming and editing and all this other kind of stuff. It's the perception. It's not knowing who the other person is going to be at the other side of that screen, and not knowing what kind of damage they can inflict on you, and how they can also change the views of other people who haven't even met you before. And the other thing is again, time and time again in my life, that's been proven to me that people do that. And that people are susceptible to other people's perception of you without having ever met you before. Because, like, when I was in the military, I met this one girl. And so when you are on duty, you sleep there overnight on the ship. And so I think we wound up having watch together a couple of times. And so I really liked her. I thought she was awesome. And so I was always talking to her and had a really good time. And then it was like a week after we had been hanging out, like where you forced proximity, basically. She was like, I don't get it. I don't understand why people, like, are down on you. And I was like, what do you mean? It's just like, people are like telling me you don't want to talk to her, she's weird, or like she's fake. Everyone thought I was fake because I always was smiling and happy and all this other kind of stuff. She goes, you're not fake. Like, I've spent so much time with you now, and like, you are genuinely this way 100% of the time. And she goes, I get how people could think that at first, but then, like, if they would actually get to know you, they would know that that's not the case. And I'm telling you, that was, like, one of my best friends for the 4 years that I was there. Like, one of my best friends. Ramos, if you're watching, I'm talking about you. No one knows about this channel, so if she finds it, that would just be... The only people that know about this channel are the people that found it. And there's 2 people in my real life that know that this channel exists. One of them is my editor. No, there's 3 people. One of them's my editor, one of them's my best friend, and one of them is one of my friends from high school who also grew up. We went to the same church and everything. Both our dads became pastors. My mom also became an ordained minister. And we've both reflected on some things and definitely changed a lot of our viewpoints. And we don't know anybody else who's undergone that same thing, but also still has religion, but has deviated from a lot of the thinking that was ingrained in us when we were younger and even into adulthood. So we're just now kind of learning to voice our own opinions more and to be comfortable with having an opinion that differs from what is deemed right. So deemed right as in like by other people that still have the complete fundamentalist views. So anyway, very few people know about this channel, and that's why, because I want to be open and honest. So I'm not going to let anyone that I know that could affect my personal life, where I cannot just shut off the computer or delete my social media and disappear from the world, which I did, by the way, for like, I did that for 2.5 years. I disappeared. I deleted a channel that had over 300 videos on it, and even had like life moments, like graduating from college, and yeah, it had the like life moments. I just deleted it. I didn't save anything. I just deleted it. I disappeared because it was too much. And so yeah, and then having that experience as well, where you do reach your lowest point, that is always a continuing fear too. And even when you like make mistakes, there is like a long stage of denial, because you can't, if you internalize everything at once, it's too much. So it kind of has to come in steps, where you're like, okay, I can accept this part of what I did wrong. And then you can move on from that, and you can apologize. But it's not the full apology, because you're not ready for it. Like, your brain's not there yet. It can take years. Years to where you get to the point to where you forgive yourself for past actions and also understand the harm that you've caused with your actions. It can take years. It's an ongoing process. And even once you come to the full understanding of like past mistakes that you have made, or stuff like that, it can take even longer for you to forgive yourself, and for you to allow yourself to take up space and be visible and be vulnerable again. I don't know that I would ever be able to be 100% authentic and vocal without any reservations with anybody ever, because it's just been too much trauma. Too much trauma. It's hard to let people in. That is why I have 2 friends that I talk to every day. 2. And I don't even talk to them every day. One of them, it kind of fluctuates with who the person is that I talk to every day. But there's normally one person I talk to every day, and then one person I talk to every once in a while. 2! 2! And the only way that we've got to be completely open is because we have talked about everything that could come up. The one friend I know where the limits are with that amount of closeness. So I can say something, but I can't go on and on and on about it, because they will not like that, because it's you want to, it's just, I don't know. Sometimes you want to convince people of however you're seeing it, but also when you know you can't convince them, it becomes frustrating, and then it's not healthy for either of you to be in that situation. So if we get on a certain topic and it's where I can start to see that whatever I'm saying might be escalating things, or the reverse, on my end, where I feel like, oh, I'm talking too much, I'm gonna get to that area, or this conversation is starting to overwhelm me, I'm getting anxiety, I've got to move on. But my other friend, she was there when I went through the worst. And we went through a break. It was like 6 months or a year where we didn't talk at all. And it was devastating. Because at that point, I literally had no one. No one. Not even kidding. Because you can't be 100% with family because you don't agree with everything that they agree with. But you also lean into that when like, so, like with family, because you know all of those elements about them, sometimes the more time you spend with them, it's easier to force yourself to have the same thinking in order to have that sense of belonging. And to feel like you're being accepted because you're meeting their standard. And so the big thing that happened or whatever was 3.5 years ago. So that was what was happening. I had been very depressed. I didn't know that I was, but I was. I was isolated. So I didn't live near family, and the only person that I had was my husband, which is great, but he's not a talker. And so, and I had my friends. Like I had friends with YouTube because I was doing YouTube at the time. I had a channel, and it was actually very successful in my mind. Like I think it was like less than 6 months, I had like 300 people, and they were active. And like bigger YouTubers, ones who now have like over 100,000 people, like we were friends. They would talk about me on their channel and like say really nice things. And when you are someone who grew up being emotionally abused, it's like you have this ceiling and you can't get too close. Because if you get too close, you're just going to get knocked back down. And that goes with every aspect of your life. Whether it's with friendships, it can even be something, my writing with books. I get to the halfway point and I'm like, all I have to do is just this little bit. It'll be so easy. But then if I do it, it's like, oh, you've done something good now. You've done something successful. But also, because I was a gifted student, I wasn't allowed to feel proud of any accomplishments. And Because they were easy? Because, oh, they're easy because you're smart. You can't worry because, again, you're smart. You'll figure it out. You always do. There's no leeway. There's no safe place to question things or grow as a person. There's none of that. And so, yeah, when I was so with that, I think I was like reaching that like positive trajectory, and but then you get depressed and anxious, and I was so anxious, and so then to not be anxious, I would spend time with family. And then I think at the same time my grandmother was dying and she was on hospice. I don't know. But anyway, yeah, there's always that ceiling with success in anything. There's always the self-sabotage. There's always the self-punishment. For instance, one of the things that's always been like a condition of love has been the weight thing too. And so when I get healthy, like when I'm getting healthier, I self-sabotage too. Because it's like, oh, you're doing something good for yourself, so then you sabotage. I lost 10 pounds since January, but as soon as I hit that 10-pound mark, because I was eating good, like I was having fruits and vegetables and drinking all my water and exercising. I was doing everything healthy. But as soon as I got there, it was like the next day. My husband had got a big pizza. And I was like, oh, I ate too much one day, so I guess we're done. And then I haven't been to the gym in like 20-something days. Like, I was doing so good. But again, it's self-sabotage. There's always sabotage. It's like, oh, if you're not around someone to punish you, you have to punish yourself. But I don't know what I was getting at. When I started this part, when I was like, oh, I guess we're gonna do this. It was just to say, I think this is something that a lot of people on BookTube go through. A lot of us are depressed to deal with the depression. A lot of us have had abusive or narcissistic parents, which is probably part of the reason why we find so much comfort in books, because books have healthy relationships. They have healthy, loving relationships where people offer unconditional love, and that's why we consume ourselves with books and TV shows, because people are hard. A book you can get right. A person you can't. You can't get a person right, but you can get a book right. But anyway, I think this is something that a lot of people on BookTube can relate to. And I think that it's something that people try to talk about, but it's hard to talk about. And so yeah, just know that when I don't make a video for a while, a lot of times I filmed a lot of stuff and then I just dump it because I'm like, oh, I said something to somebody. Somebody's gonna be upset by this. And yeah, it's a lot of pressure to be on the internet, and having had bad situations on the internet too. But again, if you are in that situation, yeah, like it can happen. I know that because of the thing with that, making a mistake, like doing something wrong, saying something hurtful, especially when you pride yourself on being someone who is deeply compassionate and loving toward other people. When you do something that destroys that trust and destroys that perception of yourself and the positive perception that you had, that other people had of you, that did align with who you were at your core. And when you make a mistake and then everyone completely negates all of the positive experiences that they've had with you, and they don't have any allowance for you to try to come back from that, it's hard. It's understandable because people have to have their own boundaries, and they get to determine if and when they will open the door back up to you. I still have consequences from those past actions. And again, this is not a woe is me, it's more of a cautionary tale. It also explains why I have such a hard time sometimes. Trauma, whether you caused it and brought it on yourself or not, is still trauma. But yeah, consequences. I think when you don't care and you don't evolve as a person, then consequences are temporary. They don't really hurt you. But when you do learn and grow as a person, that hurts. It hurts in two ways. One, because you understand the level of harm and damage that you did, and that there is no full recovery from that. And two, it sucks to be shut out. It sucks to be shut out. It hurts when someone I've never met and never had a conversation with blocks me from being able to participate in their live show or make comments on their live show. I had that happen with someone I really liked and enjoyed their channel, and I had not been on YouTube for like 3 years. So I was really enjoying their stuff. And I don't even know if I had my channel. I might have started this channel by then. I think I might have. I had subscribed. I was participating. Really enjoyed all their content. I'm still subscribed. But I noticed at first I think I was able to comment. And it was always positive. And then I wasn't able to comment anymore. And I was like, I don't understand what's happening. And then I had like messaged, and I was like, hey, I don't know if you know about like the past thing that I did. I don't know what's going on. Like, I've completely changed from that. I don't think like that anymore. And I was like, I just really want to be able to, engage in your content. I haven't said anything negative. I haven't done anything that would make my presence harmful to another person other than just simply existing. I never got a response. Nothing. When I first was going to start this channel, it was actually 6 months before I did it. I was still in the stage of, I have learned from it, but I still was not at the self-acceptance stage of, okay, I accept that I did this harmful thing, and but that I am still a good person. Like, even though I did this thing then, I am still a good person. It is still okay for me to like myself. It is still okay for me to make space for myself. And that was happening in the background too, y'all. When I was not on YouTube, when I was gone for like over 2 years, that was still happening in the background. When I would talk to someone about like writing a short story, I was like, I need to tell you this. Like, I need to tell you what I did wrong, because I don't want you to have me attached to your name and then there be a stigma against you because of your association with me. That's hard. Putting yourself out there is hard. So, when I had come back, the first video that I made was an apology video. And it explained everything. But I still don't think I fully grasped it. Even when I started this channel, like 6 months ago, I was not as far along with my deconstructing things as I am now. And I know that I've made progress. Y'all, it's gonna take a while for me to be 100% up with the times. Because that's just how things go. It takes time to progress as a human being. And to like truly 100% believe what you tell yourself you now believe. It takes time. And I think that that's okay. And I think I'm a great person. And I am lovable. And I deserve love from other people. And that I shouldn't have to torment myself over every little comment that I make about a book, because there's a possibility that it can have a negative ramification. Yeah. And it sucks because I've seen the worst. I've done the worst, and I've seen the worst. And so it just sucks. It sucks for everybody. It sucks for me. It sucks for them. I would really hope that they're not still affected by something that happened like 4 years ago. That would be pretty sad. That would be pretty narcissistic of me. That would be like me seeing a stranger, I've not done this, by the way, seeing a stranger, calling them fat, and then 4 years later, they're still thinking about that comment. That would be very sad. But it would be good for me to know that I did something harmful and to change from that. For sure. That should stick longer with the person who did the thing than the person that it was done to. Because when you're able to forgive someone, you can move on. But when you've made the mistake, I think it can be harder to forgive yourself sometimes. Because I've been in all sorts of situations. I've been on both sides. I've been on the side where I'm the one who's getting hurt, and I've been on the side where I've done the hurting. Sorry, I'm like wiping my nose with my shirt. Whatever, we're just getting all real in this video. I will tell you what I did. I'm seeing if I got anything else I need to say before I get to that. Yeah. So when I started that video, I felt like I had to tell everyone everything so that it was there, so that if someone recognized my face and then they were digging around or whatever, they would see that it was there, that I was holding myself accountable in some way. By at least acknowledging it. But then I let it sit there for like 6 months. I made like 2 or 3 videos, and then I didn't do anything. I couldn't even bring myself to watch BookTube at that point. I think I was watching like 1 or 2 creators who I had known back then, who were kind. The people that I was watching, were people that I had hurt, but that not were the ones who instantly turned away that second. They at least said, they made a comment, not like, this person is a horrible human being, I wish they would just die, or someone go beat this girl up, which I did get those comments. I got a lot of comments, but they weren't the ones who did that. Again, those people are easier to dismiss because it's like you didn't take anything into account. You took this one comment and you took that as my entire character. And that's not a fair assessment to look at one thing and then judge a person's entire character. Which I think is one of the reasons why I am so compassionate, is because that's how I think. I think that people are more than one thing. And they can be bad in some ways and good in others. I don't think that most people are a complete... There are some. But I don't think that most people are. I think it's more like 1 in 100 people are just like total a-holes all around. The other 99 are just flawed. Oh, man. So, what was I getting at? I'm going to pause and think, because I'm trying to think of what I was getting at. Oh, I think I figured it out. Yeah. Okay, so, so those people didn't totally go away right away. They reached out. They cared enough to reach out. Some of them, I think, knew that something was going on. I didn't even know what was going on at the time, y'all. Like, this is self-reflection after the fact. I started antidepressants. Like, I think I'd already, thank goodness, I had been very overwhelmed and anxious and just like very hard to function for like a month before that time period. And I was constantly being sent videos. And it was like religious and end times videos and all this other kind of stuff, constantly bombarded by it. And then all the time with family. And then there was this thing that came out about another family member. So then when you believe these things that you're taught, and then you find out that someone you love falls into that, and you're taught that, oh, they do this, they're going to hell, and then other people aren't concerned about it, but that supposedly have the same belief system as you. That was the thing. When you're growing up and you are a fundamental Christian, okay? You're either fundamental or you're not. Like, you're not a Christian at all if you're not fundamental. That's the way you're taught. If people don't believe this one element of it, they're bad. They're bad. Yeah. You're not... The sad thing is, even me then, in the height of it all, in comparison, to the people who ingrained this stuff in me, y'all don't know how, progressed I was just from that. So from then to now is just like ridiculous. So ridiculous. It's like, oh my gosh. Okay, so yeah. I'm gonna get into it, I promise. It's hard. See, now I'm still being vague, but I am going to acknowledge it because I listen to people and they say you can't really authentically apologize for stuff unless you like full-heartedly admit exactly what you did. Because then you're just trying to brush it under the rug and make it easy for yourself and not face the full consequences of your actions. So I'm going to respect that and I'm going to say it as hard as it is. I thought that I was being loving to people because, and I'm not using this as an excuse, but I am explaining it as an explanation, and I think that other people who come from the same background and have made this progression can understand and relate to this. I was taught that love, we're gonna put this into the real standard here. I was taught that love, looking at it from an outside perspective, this is how I see it now, okay? Love is making sure that other people meet your standard. That's what it is. Basically, it's emotional abuse. That's what it is. Oh, man. I didn't even think of that, like, word comparison until just now, but that's what it is. You're emotionally abused. Oh, my. Because that's not, yeah. So basically, you are taught conditional love, but under the guise of being ultimately loving because you only want the best for the other person. So if they meet your standard, they'll have a better life. They'll have a better outcome. So how could it possibly be wrong for you to tell them to meet the standard that's here? This is the standard. If you don't meet this standard, you're going to have a horrible life, or you'll have a great life, you'll have a horrible afterlife. That's the kicker. And so you're taught this, and you wholeheartedly, 100% believe it. And so, when I said the harmful things, it was multiple things that were going on. So I was having the complete and total just mental breakdown that I didn't even know I was having. I had asked for a therapist to get diagnosed with ADD, which I had already been diagnosed with as a child, but I hadn't been medicated. because it was so bad, I could not even get through a 10-minute video without having to do 5 or 6 other things. Like, my brain was constantly consuming, but like different things and in chunks everywhere. Just like the information was plowing in, and like conspiracy videos were really big then. Like, there was just so much going on. This is like feeding. Oh man. You watch enough of certain type of videos, it is whatever you call it, mind control. Oh my gosh. So that, and then real people, and then just like everything. And then you get so anxious. It's like, again, what do you do when you get anxious? What do you do when you get really stressed? What do you do when you hit the ceiling? And you feel like it's just going to come crashing down, but you don't know when it's going to happen. And preparing for it to happen is worse than if it would actually just go ahead and freaking happen. So you make it happen. So I hit the self-destruct button. I hit the self-destruct. I'm like, oh, eventually people are going to think I am a bad person, so I'm going to do the one thing that will guarantee that they do, so then they can cut me off, and I can weed out the people that will look at this one aspect and override all of my character, take this one aspect, I can weed them out of the bunch, I can let them be mad, because again, it's easy to let people be mad at you, it's not easy to let people be disappointed in you. And then the ones who stick around, I'll have my bubble. I don't have to worry anymore because they live in the same bubble as me. We don't have to expand. We don't have to grow ourselves to be comfortable in our bubble. Because see, if everyone has the same parameters for what's okay and what's not okay, you're safe. And so that's what I was doing. I was trying to create that bubble. But that bubble just... everything exploded. You get overwhelmed, you self-destruct, and then you start to see that even when you've done that, even when you've isolated, you're still dealing with issues that started it. And you have to start to confront things. You start to see people the way that other people were seeing me. I was starting to see those things in other people and understand why the things that I was saying was hurtful. Because I didn't agree with what people were saying. Even before all of that, I was like, okay, I agree with all of these things, but I'm not as bad as this group of people, like other fundamentalist Christians. I'm not as bad as them because I still stick up for the people over here, because I did. I would call people out when they were being bullies. I would call people out when they were just saying harmful things, including family members. It was still terrifying to do and would result in displays of narcissism from the people that I was correcting. And more emotional abuse. So basically, when I would say something, it would just lead to more emotional abuse, more turmoil in my personal life. And so when you realize that, and I think it was really, so you know how in a family, there's always the golden child, the smart one, the athletic one, the one that never does wrong. There's always the golden child and there's always the black sheep. Well, I was always the golden child. My other siblings were the black sheep, one more than the other. The one, at 18 years old, decided they were done. They basically figured out, I am always going to be viewed this way by my family, so I'm done caring. I'm done caring. They're either going to give me unconditional love that I deserve, or they're not. But I am going to be authentically me. I don't have to ask for their approval anymore. I don't care. I don't need their validation in order for me to feel like a human being. And so this person has taken, again, I'm not giving genders or anything because I don't want you to be able to identify if you know my personal life. But this person had a long stretch of, trigger warning for suicide. This person had long stretches of just like deep depression and suicidal thinking and suicidal attempts. And when they were trying to conform and when they were around people that we, grew up with, family that was constantly forcing to be at this standard, no one is ever to blame for that. Like, you have to take care of your own stuff, but you can still acknowledge that, yes, this exacerbated those feelings of loneliness and depression. So yeah, there is some responsibility there, but no, I'm not ever saying that you can blame someone for all of that. But it is a contributing factor to how you can feel about yourself. That's what I'm getting at. And so when you let all of the external influence that, it can send you down a bad spiral, and they were going down that spiral. But then when they moved away from all of that, like literally pack your bags and get out, they've been fine. They've been fine. And without even medication. I mean, other than pot. But my views on that have changed too. I'm not going to do it because I would be scared. I'd be the one that would do it and I'd die. But I'm a scaredy cat, so that's why I ain't doing it. But yeah, even my thoughts on that vastly different. I don't care. But I don't care. It's been very beneficial for this person, so I understand the merits of it now, and I don't judge that as like, oh, they're whereas once I totally would have. There's still areas that I'm working on. The sex positivity, I've made waves, but I'm not 100% there, I'll be honest. It's gonna take time for me to progress into a 100% full human being, okay? I can't do everything overnight. Anyway, when I say there was even more of a transition just since I've started this channel, I'm not lying. So part of it is due to people that I've never met in real life. And part of it is due, again, to that one person that isolated themselves because there was an incident. There was a family upheaval on a video chat. And one of their boundaries was crossed by another member of the family. And they were done with accepting that. And so they went off. And there's another phrase in fundamental Christian stuff. Showing your true colors. This is basically when you say that someone is like possessed by the devil because they are not acting the way you want them to act or perceiving a situation the way you want them to perceive it. They're not bending to your will, therefore they must be influenced by the devil. They're showing their true colors. They're showing evil because anything that does not abide by your way is evil. And so when this happened, I was letting her talk. I had to intervene in the middle of it and basically tell the person that was backing up the person that made the offense, because that's the other thing too, is, well, that would get into, again, identifying factor. I can't mention genders because, again, identifying, so I'm not going to get into that. But there's a whole lot of stuff. There's power dynamics within families that have to do with religious stuff too. And so I was telling them, like, no, don't say that. That's not the case. She's not overreacting. She's not being evil. she is so sick and tired of trying to completely shut down and not ever be heard because you're backing this person up when they're in the wrong. This person, I'm not a psychiatrist, but clinical narcissist. You look at the definitions and it's like, yes. Love this person. Hope they never see this video. Love this person. But yes, I think, and I was, so, and the whole time they did what I did when that situation had happened where I said something that was hurtful. Doubling down, saying, oh, because this says that my view is in the right, then I can demean, I can dismiss you, I can call you uneducated. I get that one all the time. My liberal education. I went to college in Kentucky. Where are you getting this from? College in Kentucky. All college education is liberal, by the way, apparently. Oh my goodness. Because I didn't agree with people going against the bathroom bill and was trying to discuss the merits of it, whether you agreed with those things or not. Because again, this is one of the reasons why I say, even when I was in that spot, I didn't think that I was necessarily in the wrong. Because again, I was using the same principles of the Bible, and the Bible supersedes any human thinking because God is the supreme. It doesn't matter if you agree with what it says or not. That's what you have to abide by, or you're going to hell. That's what you're taught. Yeah. And so, anyway, yeah, so I thought that I was kind of the middle ground person because I would be like, no, look at the facts with this. Like, I would bring up the facts. And I would be like, okay, this is what actually happens. I was very, frankly, pissed off and disgusted when one political figure made a campaign ads against the bathroom bill using transphobic rhetoric that is just completely false. And if anyone even watched one video or read one article about someone who is trans, they would understand that that was just a complete mockery. And so that was my thinking even as the individual that made this thing. And jokes about like gay people and like the hand gestures, like, okay, so this person at the time was an Uber driver. So they would go and get their car washed every day. They had like a fancy vehicle that they spent like $40,000 or something to get so that they could get more money doing this stuff. And so for their birthday, you can never buy anything that pleases this person other than bullets. But I got them a cup that was a gun was the handle, and then it had ice trays that made bullet ice, so it was really cute and like funny. But the other thing that I got them was a chauffeur cap, because they were already dressing up like in a suit to pick these people up. I was like, I'll get you a chauffeur cap and white gloves. And I got them, they were complaining about people that would get in the car that would smell like smoke. They had smoked, like they were a smoker, but getting in the car smelling like that can make the experience worse for the other people that would get in the car. And then at that time they had quit smoking, so they didn't want to smell that. So I got them some like smoke smell canceling spray. But they put on the hat, and like this was a thoughtful gift to me. This was not a gag gift, and they put on the gloves, and they were doing like the hand flippy and like saying the F word, and just like making fun. And I don't know if I said anything in particular at that point, but it was very hurtful to me because I was being thoughtful, and that was just disrespectful, but also it was hurtful because I don't think you should act that way towards other people. Because to me, what my definition of love at the time was like, yes, I've got this standard. I want people to fall into that because I don't want them to suffer the ramifications of not abiding by that. And so that was my approach of like, hey, I can tolerate, which is basically like, I'm not going to do anything overtly to upset you or to tell you that you're doing something in the wrong or anything like that. I'm not going to ever make fun of you. I'm not going to go stand out on the road with signs saying you're going to hell. I'm not going to do any of that stuff. And I'm going to stand up to bullies, which was like this individual making the jokes with the hand gestures and using the F word and all this other kind of stuff. They still make jokes like this. And I have since then voiced it. We went and visited my brother one time to graduate camp. And I think my dad was still making a joke about the gloves that I got him. Oh, I just said the name. Dang it. Whatever. It happened. Okay, it happened. So, whatever. They were still making jokes about the gloves, and they were doing that voice. And I was just like, you need to stop doing that. Like, you've got to stop doing that. And I was just telling them. And everyone was kind of like, oh, it's just a joke. It's just a joke. You're being sensitive. That's the other thing, too. With abusive stuff, you're being sensitive. That is so demeaning and dismissive. And that happened on the Christmas phone call, too. And I was like, no, you got to stop. You cannot say that. You're being dismissive and disrespectful to them. So, anyway, they were making jokes again, and I called them out. So, like, this is stuff that happened before I said the damaging thing. So I prided myself on being compassionate and being able to find that middle ground between having my own principles and beliefs, not endorsing the beliefs that did not align with mine, but also not demeaning or doing anything overtly harmful to the people who were doing things that didn't align with what the Bible said was correct. So I thought that made me a good person, that made me a compassionate person. Now, the other thing is that some of the people, they tried to have a conversation with me. They understood why I was having the viewpoints that I had, but they were also trying to teach me that definition of love is not actual love. Love is unconditional. It's okay, even if you had that standard, like acceptance and tolerance are not the same thing. And so I understand that now. It's still so hard to get certain things out of your head when you have cemented them as fact, and when those facts were derived from person after person after person who you either respected or who had an authoritative position. And especially so when you are atypical, sometimes those things are just like, they're like hard facts. It is so hard to deconstruct those things. Whereas someone else, you might be able to have a conversation with them, and then by the end of the conversation, you've been able to change their mind, and they're completely fine, and they're good to go. But when that's not the case with you, it's like trying to convince me that the sky is red. Like, the sky can be red, but if I've always seen it as blue, I'm not going to be able to change that in a day. Like, it takes time to fully understand. And I think I've got to that place where I do understand now. Even if I'm not 100% fully reformed in all ways, I'm definitely making progress and continuing to seek to do better in all facets, not just the one where I made, where I did the bad thing. And so yeah, like, are we going to get into it? Again, I feel like this video is just too long. No one's going to watch this. So yeah, I'm going to get into the specifics now because I feel like I have to do that. I can't just yap for an hour and a half and not actually be fully accountable for what I did. And I don't think any of you know, which again is hard because I don't want to upset what I've started because I've built a good community. And the reason why I deleted the video and then started this channel again, new name, all that kind of stuff 6 months later, was because I got to the point where I had come to better accept myself and understand that I'm not that same person. And I don't have to keep trying to prove my worth to other people. Not having to prove that I deserve redemption by an apology video. I would much rather redeem myself by showing my change rather than just trying to tell someone that I've changed, because I don't think that that has the same meaning. And like, so I know I go back and forth, but so again, with the other friend that I was having a conversation with where we were talking about stuff, and it kind of made me understand more so what unconditional love was, because what had prompted that conversation where she was telling me how thankful she was for me being like that. And this was a friend who stuck with me as much as they possibly could, even though that they were directly hurt by it as well. Trying to, like, they stuck up for me and they got attacked too for sticking up for me because they're part of this. And that meant the world for me that they did that. But also they had to take a break after a while because I had continued to double down. I had continued to double down. And I was just unapologetic about it at that point because I had already lost so many people. There was a few people who still, like, there were some that tried, and it was like one conversation, and then once I just still didn't get it and I was doubling down, they were like, you know what, for my own health, and the fact that we had been so tightly associated with each other, they had to make like a formal announcement of disassociating with me as a person, because I wasn't seeing it. And they told their audience, they were like, I tried, like, I reached out to them. I understand that people can have differing views and that's okay, but this was unacceptable and I needed them to acknowledge that, and they weren't willing to do it, they being me. So I respected that. I respected the people that said that they were disappointed with my actions. I had a lot of love for people that they didn't make contact with me. They said that they were gonna unfollow and all that other kind of stuff. But they said, like, I really hope that there's a way for this person to learn from this. And to come out of it, because I do think that they are genuinely a good person, and that something is going on here. there were a few people that were like, I think this person is having a mental breakdown. And they're like, I don't have the bandwidth to stick around to see how they come out of it. But I think that that's what's happening. So I'm going to say what it is because we're going to get into more details and you got to know what the heck I'm talking about at this point. So I've already given away some genders and identifying stuff, so I might as well just get specific. Oh my gosh. I did not expect to do this today. Or ever. Oh my goodness. My husband's probably going to be home soon and he's going to be like, what in the world is going on? Oh, I haven't even talked to my therapist about this. Because I'm scared of my therapist rejecting me. I can't even trust a therapist. I can't. I just don't. I don't believe that anyone. I just don't. And I want to change that. I want to believe that people can forgive and accept others beyond their mistakes, but it just can't. It is so hard. I have to hide. I have to box myself in. I have to segregate myself and not be fully myself because I've been rejected all my life. Oh my gosh. I've been rejected by family. And then with the whole belief system, it's like you feel like you're rejected by God too, because you're not abiding by that standard. You're no longer believing all of those rules that guided your whole life and how you made determinations off of what was good, what was bad, who was good, who was bad, who was lost, who was saved, who is redeemable, who is not. It's so ingrained. Oh, gross. Oh, gross. It's like a whole booger came out in that. This is nasty. Okay. I'm getting disgusting. Oh, gosh. It looks like one of my dog's eye boogers. Ew. Anyway. So, y'all, I laugh too. Laugh, like, smiling, laughing releases endorphins. Every once in a while I just have to do it so that I can cope to continue on. What was I saying? I gotta pause and think again. Okay, yes. So, my mom had been doing a YouTube channel. She would had end time prophecies. Things that were going to happen. And sometimes she would talk about certain dreams that she had and all this other kind of stuff. Now, here's the complicated thing, okay? I still am a Christian. I believe in like dreams and prophecies and all this other kind of stuff can really happen. I've had them. I have had them where I had proof. That was the other thing. Around the same time, I was having dreams and visions, and then stuff would happen that lined up. Not all of them. Some of them still haven't happened. I don't know if they will or not. One of them, I pictured a school shooter, and then it was like the next day. I made a video on that channel talking about the dream and discernment, and I thought that that dream was a false dream, that it was just a regular dream. And so I wrote it off as not being real. I was very detailed about the person and the shooter, everything. And I made the video, and then it was like the next day or 2 days later or something like that. There he was. And so I know that those things can be real, and that's also what makes it harder to be like, okay, I know that this stuff can happen, and that there are things in the Bible that I wholeheartedly believe are true. But then also have things where I'm like, no, I think that part of this is where the people that were writing it had their own biases that were ingrained in there, and a lot of it is patriarchal and like male dominant and all this other kind of other stuff that's put in there. And I think that some of it, there's deliberate mistranslations in order to cause divides. I think there's a lot of that stuff going on, and that is like blasphemous to say. But anyway, so when you have had visions and stuff like that, that to you prove that what you've read about and what you've heard about is 100% true and it's non-debatable. And then you also have another person that's like a respected person, also had like 16,000 subscribers or something. All also agreeing. And then stuff that they were saying actually happening. It's hard to try to deviate from anything that the book says because you've got proof that some of the elements are right, so how do you go against that? But anyway, so I was watching their stuff, and then there was lots of conspiracy stuff that was happening, and so then I was watching conspiracy videos, and my brain was just getting full of a bunch of stuff, and again, I was depressed. This is not a good thing to do, to be watching when your brain is not functioning the way that you would like it to function, and then you're feeding it a bunch of crap. That's not a good thing. Yeah, there was one point where there was a date given, and I spent $500 on a credit card getting like prepped for the end of days, basically. And that was like 2016, and it has not happened. There was something that happened on that date that was given, but it was in Australia. It was not in the US. Yeah. So, anyway. So yeah, I was so ingrained in all of that that you cling to whatever makes sense to you at the time, and that's what I was clinging to, was religion. And, then I'm getting into it now, I promise. I'm going to be specific. Again, completely generic. You don't know if I'm talking about a family member or some Rambo. I don't know. Someone in close contact with me came out as gay. This was the same week that this happened. This person came out as gay. The other person that was very close to them, that again was given the same set of guidelines with religion. We're taught that it's, well, again, there are levels with this. Some people are taught that you choose to be gay. I do not believe that. And some people are taught that you are born that way. And so And that's like your ultimate sin that you need to overcome, is to just, if you feel that way, that's fine. Like, you're not a sinner for having thoughts that you cannot help, but you are if you act upon those thoughts. That's what we're taught. Separate the sin from the sinner. But all you're really doing is, again, you are using conditional love to determine how you are going to treat or think about someone, or the level at which you will accept them. And that is not love. I believed it was at the time. I do not now. And so when I was seeing that this person who had made this unchangeable thing, and they had decided to go for it, that is heartbreaking, because you're like, oh, this person already had a different religion, but it's like, oh, they can come around from that. One day, something will happen. They'll turn to God, and it'll be fine. They'll go to heaven. Because that's the other thing, too. You only go to heaven if you believe in God. But anyway, so everyone around them was like, you know, they had their moments where they're like, things are changing, because this person had cheated on their wife and left their wife. And so there was that. So there was some grieving, because it's like, all right, you have this other person in your life who's no longer going to be in your life because they've made this decision. But again, is it really a decision if you're just being authentically you? They actually do not have a label, by the way. I just use that. I don't know what their actual label is. They don't go by one. I don't think that they agree with labels, so I apologize for using that, but I just use that as a term for anyone that would be willing to be in a non-heteronormative relationship. I use it as the umbrella term, because that's the way that fundamentalist Christians view it. You're either willing to do that or you're not. That's all that matters to that. I think my husband must be home because my dog is barking. Anyway, so when everyone was still giving them unconditional love, I was like, what is this? How are you not scared? How are you not terrified? Like, this is something that, if this is the case, this is something, they were born like this. Like, this is not going to change. You can't just talk them out of this. Like, you are losing a loved one. So it's like someone is dying. And they weren't faced by it. And for me, that was so much of a mind effer. And then my parent had made a video, and they were talking about sexual sin. And at the time, I had been sitting against my body. Not fornicating with, like, another person, but you know what I'm talking about. Sitting against my body. And so I felt convicted by that video that what I was doing was wrong. And then I had been, like, praying for ways to not give in to that temptation of self-love. And, I was able to, like, stop doing that with, like, singing certain songs, like singing to Jesus, when I would be tempted to do stuff like that. And, so I shared the video, and it didn't just say sexual sin on there. It also said, homosexuality. It said the word homosexuality. It said sexual sin. I think there was some other stuff on there. And this person's voice, when they talk, it is like a preacher. It is very dominant, loud, boisterous, a convicting way thing. Like, if you're doing this, you feel like you've been sent to the principal's office. And, So I shared that, and I was like, I knew, y'all, I knew that there was going to be someone that was going to react and not like that I shared that. But I thought that I was still being compassionate because, again, I was putting myself at the center. And when I made that tweet, I said, I myself have been guilty of sexual sin. So I was like, I am no better, is basically what I was saying with that. I am no better than you. But I was still saying that all of it was a sin. And when you are someone who has been told by other believers in your life that being gay, again, general term, being gay is a sin, and that when you sin, you go to hell, and because that sin is one that you cannot help, and that is also ingrained in who you are as a person and completely affects multiple aspects of your life that you have zero control of. It's kind of like there's some people, if they have the religion and they believe it wholeheartedly, there's the self-hatred that comes with that, because it's like, I love God, but clearly not enough because I would be able to overcome this. I would be able to resist. Or I love God, but clearly he doesn't love me, or he would take this from me because I've tried to pray it away day after day and it's not happened. Like, why have I been rejected by this figure who is supposed to be all loving? Why would they inflict me with this thing and then not let me overcome it? And so when you're told that, if you have hatred towards yourself because you believe that you can't change that and that God can't accept you for it, or as Christians would say, despite, which is like a negative thing. Again, it's all about the conditional, and I don't know what my dog is barking about, but what's I getting at? Again, I have to pause. Yeah, so when you believe that about yourself, and then someone makes a post like that, someone that you've maybe formed a connection with, because many of these people had talked to me, had been friends with me. I was a very supportive member of the community. Like, the way I think people view MJ now, MJ is incredible, by the way, I have nothing but good things to say, as being like a supportive person in the community, being someone who interacts with someone that has 1 subscriber, or 100,000 really does not matter. Just wanting to be a genuine, nice, kind human being to other people, and is seen as being that type of person on the platform of BookTube. That's how I feel I was viewed at that time. I was a positive force on BookTube. That's not something cocky to say. That is how I was viewed. I was viewed as being very creative and unique, and one of the I'm going to make personal apologies. I feel like that's owed. I don't know. I mean, I want to make personal apologies, but also I don't necessarily want to bring attention to where, like, they feel like they need to respond to my apology, because you don't owe me anything. You do not owe me anything. You do not owe me forgiveness. You do not owe me your time. You do not owe me your respect. You do not owe me anything. What I did to you was wrong and harmful, and I am so sorry that I might have put you into a negative headspace where you had to hear things that you heard from people that you loved who constantly maybe rejected you because you were gay or because you identified as a different gender. I am so genuinely sorry that I made you feel like that. I'm not gay. I could never fully understand what you've experienced and how you have been rejected or oppressed by other people. I can never fully understand that, and I'm not going to say that I can. But I know what it feels like to be rejected and feel unloved and to only get conditional acceptance. So I am so sorry that I harmed you. Whether that be the people that I actually met and talked to and had a relationship with, or if it was someone that just saw the tweet that didn't know me from Joe Blow. I don't care who. I don't care how far reaching it was, and I don't blame any of you for being mad or saying mean things. And some of them were very hurtful. Not the people that I'm apologizing to were not the ones who were hurtful, but like the people that said let's go beat her up. That's what I'm talking. Even to y'all, the mean ones. I apologize to you too, because it was a crappy thing to do. It was a crappy thing to do, and I'm going to continue to try to learn and to do better and to be more supportive and to get towards true acceptance. And I know that anything that I can do can feel like a shallow step or a show to try to prove myself. And I don't want to do anything to feel like I'm trying to prove myself, because that's not genuine to me. That's not genuine to me. So I'm not just gonna announce every little thing that I'm doing to do better. If you want to know specifics, I will tell you what I'm doing to try to do better. I will give you those specifics, but doing it here, I feel like would be trying to elevate myself in some way to improve people's image of me, and I don't want to do that. So I'm not gonna give all the specifics here, but yeah, if you want to know, I will tell you what I'm doing. And some of the changes that I've made and viewpoints that I've changed. I'm willing to have that discussion one-on-one. But again, I don't want to be giving myself platitudes on here. That's not what this is for. I did not plan on doing this video. Oh my goodness. Oh, 2 hours and 3 minutes of me breaking down. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Alright, so, yeah. One of the people that was very kind and that was very hurt. So here's the other thing too. What I said earlier about the ceiling, getting to a certain point and then being terrified and then just self-destructing. I had won a BookTube award. I was the smallest channel that was on there. I was against not Jesse the Reader, the Irish Reader, and Books and Lala. And Jesse gave it to me, and that meant the world. And Jesse had the nicest things to say about me as a person and my channel and everything. Like, Jesse was amazing. Yeah. So that happened, and so it was the compound of all these different things just escalated, and I just exploded, and it was horrible. My husband's here. Yeah, my husband came home. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention when I was talking earlier, so I don't know if I used any wrong pronouns. I'll be cognizant of that from this point, but I'm not editing this video because I want it to be truly authentic, so if I did just misgender, I'm so sorry. But yeah, Jesse, they did that, and they were just so kind. But yeah, I'm really sorry, Jesse. You know who you are. Um, and then another one, there's a couple in a row kind of lumped in together. So Nikki, we were very close. 3 years. 3 years strong friendship. Destroyed. Because I was an a-hole. And they were willing to make compromises, and we had already had deep discussions, and we were on the same kind of spot with not agreeing but being okay, so that we could have that openness and vulnerability with each other. But they had another person in their life who could have been affected by their association with me, and my presence in their life could have impacted them in a negative way, so they had to sever those ties, because I doubled down. So I completely respect that decision, but I am sorry. It has been several years, so I'm not gonna get all of the names. I'm so sorry if I leave anyone out. Y'all, I have such a hard time with memory. I worked at a place last year with people 5 hours a day for over 6 months, and I don't remember their names. So bad with names. But anyway, Libra Libre. Becca, you know who you are. Allie. I don't know who else we had as host. Everyone that was part of Empty Shelfie. Because I shared that hateful post on all the social medias. And then I think I even went as far as to say that I did it on accident. I did not do it on accident. I'm sorry. Those were the main ones, were the people that had hosted on Empty Shelfie. Becca and Libra. That's not her actual name. That was the channel name, but I don't think their name is public. This person, I know their real name, so I'll say it. Destiny. You know who you are. I still watch their channel, and they've been very kind. They were the first person that I felt comfortable enough to watch their videos, because I had so much self-hate towards myself that I couldn't bring myself to be happy by their content at first, or anybody's. I felt like I was such a disgrace. I didn't want my profile pic or my face to pop up in anybody's comments, and for my mere existence to cause harm. And that's why I hadn't come back for so long, and that's why I hadn't watched BookTube for so long, is because I felt like my existence would cause harm. Now I think it's been, there's no time limit for an individual, for stuff like that to be okay. It's never going to be okay what I did. There's nothing to excuse it, but I'm hoping that even if my apology does nothing for anyone else, at least I know that I'm holding myself fully accountable, and that I'm being transparent with the current viewers that are here. TJ, you were very kind. There was a lot of people. Now, there was some things that were said about me during that time that had nothing to do with my hateful comment. And I would stand up for myself about those. Because I don't know how people made those assumptions. I mean, I guess in ways I could see why someone would think that just viewing the channel, but this was never what I was doing. Some people thought that I was using, like doing collaborations or videos or talking about, things that were happening. They thought that I was using people of color and people of the LGBT community, that I was using them to grow my platform and that I was being disingenuous. And that was never the case. I will admit that I am never gonna be woke. I don't think that no. I see myself as I think his name is Jacob on Abbott Elementary. That's how I view myself. I am someone who genuinely tries to learn and do my best and treat everyone with fairness and kindness and combat whatever injustices I can in my small ways. But I will mess up. I will say stupid stuff. I will ask questions where it's like, hey, I can't answer this for you. I mean, that's how it is as a white person. There's always something that I would have the potential of saying out of ignorance. And ignorance is something that I think it's okay to acknowledge ignorance and to try to grow from it and learn more from it. But once you know about it, don't just sit there and do nothing. Like, ignorance might be bliss, but it's not going to help you be a better person. So yeah, that was never the case. I did make a lot of videos at the time about some stuff people would call BookTube drama, and I think that is how I got a lot of followers, because there wasn't a lot of white people who were backing up what people of color were saying about things that were happening. And when you're talking about trying to make sense to people that don't see themselves as racist, but clearly do have racist views, because they have those, they almost have to hear it from someone that looks like them in order to listen. So when I was making those videos about like police brutality and how I had like the worldview upended when I had watched one of the videos that they had from police cams and stuff, and how it does upend your worldview because you feel like, you know, police are supposed to be the good ones. So when you see, oh, like, there's no debating about that, they did that, they planted that there, it wrecks your worldview, because then you're like, there's no, I don't like using the phrase black and white, but there isn't one. When I say that, I mean, when you're presented a view of like, cops are always good. No. People are not always. And there's a problem with the whole system and the mentality that got the people the way that they are. It's not just about the people, it's about the system. But yeah, I never, no, I'm not, no. That accusation that one just came out of nowhere. And it was propagated by one prominent person who's extremely prominent now. I'm not going to name them because I don't want anything going their way. I had, what I did was when I had a previous channel before that, it didn't have any success at all. I had felt very on the outsides when I had that first channel. Back then, everyone pretty much looked the same. They all did their hair and makeup, and everything had to be just right. Perfect lighting, perfect. And here I am, a fat girl. And back then, there were not many of us, okay? And, what was I saying? I don't even know where I was going with that. Anyway, I thought that could have had something to do with not having as many people watching the videos, and I would get comments like fat pig and just like mean stuff. But also I would make videos thinking I was making a lot of logical sense and it was just ignorant BS. So there's that too. I did not know. Oh my gosh. I'm glad I don't have those videos because I was probably extremely ignorant. But my whole thing with telling you that was I had felt ostracized by things that I couldn't help, like external factors that people were maybe seeing because I wasn't like wearing makeup. I wasn't getting all dolled up and I wasn't the like standard of beauty or whatever. So when I started the new channel, The Happy Booktuber, I focused on doing positive content. I wanted it to be a safe place for people to come to where they weren't going to hear me talk about anything negative. And I wasn't going to talk about anything with the world because I just wanted it to be a safe spot where people could go to de-stress. And that's kind of what it was. The further I got into it, I would stand up for causes where I was like, I don't care if people leave me hate comments about this because it's just the right thing to do. But yeah, and so my whole thing, like even if you had saw like my BookTube newbie tag when I had that channel, I had said in there, I want to be like supporting everyone and I want to give other people opportunities who maybe feel like they never get them. I had set up collaborations with people where I was their first subscriber and I said, hey, do you want to do a collab with me? Do you want to do a reading thing? Do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? Because the only people that I ever saw getting to be involved in anything were the people that had over 10,000 subs. And it felt like a popular clique. And I was like, I want to be the anti-popular clique. I want to be the small booktuber with my with people. Because that's the way that I was in high school. In all the schools, I was bullied. So instead of letting the bullies, put me down and me to try to fit in with them, I just found the other outcast and I was like the queen of the nerds. That's what they called me. That's what my mom called me. I was the queen of the nerds. The funny thing that I would say is like, popular is not well liked. Popular is well known. And I was very popular in that sense because everybody knew me. Even if they hated me, they knew who I was. So yeah, I liked being the queen of the nerds. I love to be the queen of the nerds here. But what I was getting at is that the fact that that was said about me and was not true, me being homophobic and saying crappy stuff on the internet with sharing that video and then doubling down and then making another video to tell the people that, yeah, it got worse. Because then people were saying, I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm a Christian, but I don't believe that way. And then I was questioning their own faith by making another video. Sorry, Caitlin. You were one of those. I don't remember. I think it was just Caitlin. But yeah, I was questioning them because again, If you are like uber fundamentalist, you either believe everything wholeheartedly or you don't. And if you don't, it's just as bad as being an unbeliever, because you're obviously not saved, because you are a backridden Christian. You're backridden. You still believe in God, but you're on the other side of the fence. You're on the devil's side of the fence. You're towing the line. That's what you're taught. So I was questioning other people's faith and devotion. Horrible, despicable. So yeah, sorry to you two and anybody else I said that. But I had made another video where I was doubling down on everything. I was playing the victim. The things that I was saying were true. I really did give myself a UTI and a bunch of anxiety attacks and years of antidepressants that don't really work well. All of that was true, but it was still playing the victim because I was centering myself at the conversation and not the people that I hurt. So yeah, and people were backing me up because that was a Christian channel. So they were all like, yeah, you tell them, da-da-da-da-da. Because I was saying I had like 16,000 people because I had seen other people mess up in the community, and what they would do is they would take down their post or their video. I didn't make the YouTube video on my channel. I could have ignored it and probably still would have had some of the subscribers there that just wouldn't have known. But I did it on Twitter. And, yeah, Twitter has retweets and quote tweets. I mean, I could be a spokesperson for creating BookTube drama. I do quotes because it's not drama. It's trauma. Creating trauma. For other people to relive, which was the bad thing, because like people in their lives because of people having these thought processes, and I, having been someone that was respected and known as being a loving person, expressing those, it makes people doubt who they can trust and who's being authentic. It makes them not feel safe. So it's beyond what I said, and it's beyond the emotions that people had because of it. It's also just the fact that it was they were betrayed. They were betrayed by me saying those things because they thought that I was a good person, and then I was proving to them that I was not. No, that is not me making a criticism against people who are still fundamental Christians. Because we all have our journeys, and I would have been sad if I was back then watching this very video with someone saying that they didn't believe that, being gay was like sinful and all this other kind of stuff, because I would think, oh no, they've backslidden. That's what it's called. Not whatever I said earlier. It's backslidden. I would have been sad. So we all have our journeys. I'm not judging you if you still think those things. I hope that you'll still have the same turnaround. I don't know how you say it. Your life will be so much easier. So much easier if you just learn to fully accept people. Yeah, but anyway, I totally went everywhere. So, way back, going way back. So that's what I said, that's what I did. I'm sorry to all the people that I said those harmful, despicable things to. I genuinely am. I think I've got all the crying gone, and my battery's dying, so I really do gotta hurry this up. But, what was I saying? My goodness. I really don't know what I was saying. Oh. So the latest upgrade on my journey, the Christmas thing. So I was standing up to my parents on my person's behalf, and then I had conversations with them after, and we were talking, and I've had conversations with other people about the situation. And when I was talking to my other friend, the one that I had heard that we had to take like a year break from, but then she came back and we're perfectly fine. And they were even thanking me for the fact that I had had unconditional love toward them. Because there had been other situations, well, I'm not going to give any details about. But it's just so hard for us to accept that other people can unconditionally love, because it's been so ingrained in us time and time again that people can't. But I was telling her that I had come to the realization that I'm never going to be good enough for my parents. I'm never going to believe everything the way that they believe things. And certain things that I choose to do are always going to disappoint them. And I'm done caring. I'm done judging myself according to their standards. I'm done with all of that because it's not helpful for me. It just makes me feel bad about myself. It makes me feel bad about my relationships. I don't like that. And I want to be able to do things that I want to do. So, like, me and this person were writing stuff together, and we share a world where most of the characters are in the LGBT community. Which you're like, whoa, you're doing that after you made this horrible mistake? Yep. I am. Which I questioned too, because I was like, oh man, if I write a story with LGBT and yet I have been homophobic in my past, yeah. So we were going to use a pen name partly for that, to like protect that. But then I was like, you know what, screw it, because really the only point of that and hiding it is so that I don't have to face the wrath of my parents and other people who believe that rhetoric, that it's sinful. Or that, like, sex stuff is sinful either. And so I was talking to her and I was like, I'm just done caring. I'm not going to shove it in their face. I'm not going to, like, send them this video and be like, ha ha ha, I don't agree with you anymore. I'm not doing that because, again, I'm setting my own boundaries. And my boundary is I'm not letting family into this part of my life. I'm good with segregating them rather than segregating myself from the rest of the world to appease their ideals. Because that's what I was doing, and it was too hard and it was toxic. So yeah, and I'm just like, you know, but anyway, they were saying they were so happy that, like, I really was making a turnaround and they got to see the transition, because it was slow. It was not overnight. I'm not fully there. Stuff, it gets so ingrained with you. You can believe stuff in your head, and I do. But then to say it out loud and to, like, all that kind of stuff takes more time. To, like, be unapologetic in the new way of thinking, if that makes sense. But yeah, what I said was homophobic. It was wrong. It was hurtful. And I am deeply sorry, and I'm trying to do better. Trying to be a better person. And again, in all avenues, if I'm doing something that's hurtful, let me know. It's hard for me to hear, because again, it's very hard to take responsibility for something, because it does feel like a personal attack, even when it's not. But I want to learn, so I am open to feeling uncomfortable in order to grow as a person. So, yeah. I think that concludes this video that started with reviews. Alright. I will wind up cutting out the review part, because why would you want to sit through 20 minutes of that to get to this randomness? But I'm going to try to not be scared, and I'm going to try to post this video. But I feel better now because I haven't said any of that publicly. So yeah. Let me know in the comments. Are you a person who's capable of forgiveness? Can you look at someone like me who was homophobic and not have hatred? Can you have compassion? You don't have to. If you see this video and you're like, you know what, someone that's capable of doing that once in their life is always going to be that way, and I need to disassociate myself, then that's just a consequence that I'm going to have to accept. But it's all out there now. I'm not hiding. Yeah, I've still got a long way to go to rewrite my learning. There's stuff that I'm not conscious of. And also I want to say a thank you. I'm going to say a thank you because I was telling you part of the coming around a lot has had to do with some other people that don't even know me. So thank you, Reads with Rachel. You have been a huge part of this transition. I know that I messaged you after a couple videos and I told you I'd like subscribed to your channel and then I'd unsubscribed because it made me uncomfortable because I was having to challenge some of my viewpoints. I really love your openness about being from a fundamentalist Christian background, having wholeheartedly, been ingrained in that and then coming out of that. And I know your transition out of it has been like a complete step away from Christianity. But I also like that you talk about your friend who's more on the end of I guess where I'm at, where I am deconstructing a lot of those harmful views and rhetoric that has ruined lives. I really appreciate that. I appreciate seeing someone like you that has come from that place, but that still has love and understanding towards people that still have the faith but are turning away from the toxic stuff. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate your channel, all the work that you do. I think you literally are changing lives. You've changed mine. So I am very, very thankful for your channel. You already know I had resubscribed because it kept popping up in my recommended because I'd watched a couple and I started watching some of the more ones that were talking about books that had harmful material that came from religious rhetoric, and it's really opened my mind. Like even stuff like sex work, which is just like beyond me. I never thought that I would be like, yeah, sex work. Okay. Never. Yeah, so thank you for helping me be a better person and not be as judgmental. I really do appreciate it. Yeah. Even Jesse Owen's channel. I really like Jesse's channel. There's just certain things where you see things as a right or wrong, even with stuff like pirating. And when I watch your videos, sometimes I have to think about it and be like, hey, there is more nuance to certain situations. Not everything is face value. You've got to kind of look beyond yourself and your initial thoughts towards something and like dive into it. Doesn't mean I agree every time. I don't want people stealing my books. I am an author. I need to eat. But yeah, I can see the points and learn from those. So I appreciate those discussions too. And I feel like you do have a good balance of like making it a discussion where people are free to kind of like look into things and like develop more of a stance on stuff. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate everybody. I appreciate all my subscribers that have been on here for sticking around with me. yeah. And if you do decide to leave my channel because seeing my face is going to hurt you, then not only do I respect that decision, but actually I'm proud of you because I'm glad that you're setting personal boundaries for yourself that are going to keep you protected. But yeah, I guess that's the end of this video. So thank you for watching. Hopefully I didn't make any of you worry too much. I promise I am okay. I think that this is going to be a good thing. It's going to be hard, but at least I've been open, and I feel like this is like one of those final steps to like fully moving forward, but also holding myself accountable. So hopefully you agree. Maybe this was positive. If you are someone who has messed up on the internet and done something crappy, know that you do deserve to take up space, and you do deserve time to grow and reflect and become a better person. Don't expect anyone to look past it all, but you do deserve to still be here. Just learn from it. Just learn from it and try to do better. And forgive yourself. Forgive yourself. Nobody is perfect. Don't use that as an excuse and continue to do crappy things, but there's room to grow. And it's okay. It's okay. Not what you did, but it's gonna be okay. You can move forward from this. Your life is not over. I genuinely do fear that there will be a time that no matter how justified the piling on is from people in response to negative things that people say, I genuinely do think that it could cause the ultimate end for someone's life. I genuinely think that. We saw the author who faked it. But yeah, I could see that happening. So if you are one of the people that tends to go the angry route, the very angry route, try to be mindful that as much as that person has hurt you, you don't know what they're going through. And, you know, even the worst people don't deserve to die for it. So yeah, hopefully my mistakes can be a learning tool for other people. Whether it be the ones who are hurt by things that are said, or the ones who have done the hurtful things. I don't think that it's right to police other people's feelings. So when I'm saying the thing about the anger stuff, I'm not saying don't be angry. It just really does. It does bother me that it's the potential that someone could do that as a result of it. Again, it's never anyone's fault if someone makes that decision. I don't think anyone should blame themselves for that. But when you know you could do something to lessen that probability, why not do it? So go with your anger to someone who can listen and get it out that way. Because being someone that has been on the receiving end of it, it's hard. I've been depressed. Don't get me wrong. But I've never been suicidal. If I had been, with all of that, I don't know. I don't know. I basically just went out in the woods in a tent for 2 years, so that's what I did. But if I had like continued to stay on the internet, oh man. So yeah, I mean, I think it is something that people need to caution about, that is a possibility if the piling on continues. But at the same time, it's okay to hold people accountable. And again, I feel like now I'm just policing people's feelings and how they react. So I'm sorry. I'm going to stop talking because I don't want to be policing anyone. I really am afraid that could be a potential for someone, and that terrifies me. He was distracting me. I had like one more thing I was going to say. He's still distracting me, and I can't remember what I was going to say. So I guess this is it. I will return to normal filmed content soon. All of this was because I was doing a Buzzwordathon wrap-up. Oh my goodness. Alright. I wish I could remember what I was going to say, but I can't. I'll put it in the comments if I remember, but I doubt I'll remember, but I'll put it in the comments if I do, but I gotta go. This battery is gonna die. Bye!